Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
And welcome into the Sunday Journal. I'm your host, Matt Pitta. Thanks for being with us today. On this edition of our program, we get together each week to talk about issues facing Cape Cod, the islands, and all of southeastern Massachusetts. Welcome into the Sunday Journal on a very special weekend. Of course, here on Cape Cod, it is Memorial Day weekend. And of course, we always like to get an update on what's happening in our local business community here on Memorial Day weekend to find out how businesses are shaping up and what the trends are over the next couple of months. In studio with us, some regular guests that you are very familiar with here on Cape Cod. Wendy Northcross is the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Wendy, it's always good to see you. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate you having you here today. Thanks for stopping by. And Patti Lloyd, old friend Patti Lloyd. I shouldn't say old friend. That doesn't make you sound old. My friend Patti Lloyd.
Longtime friend,
Patti Lloyd, Vice President of Sales with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Patti, it's always good to see you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate having both of you here today to talk about these issues. Wendy, we'll start out with you. You and I have been doing these segments for many years now, and let's just get a general overview as we roll into the Memorial Day weekend as people are listening to us here today. What we're looking for, how business is shaping up here on the Cape.
Well, we're always looking for a great summer season. You know that.
I do.
We clearly make about half of the money that's generated from travel and tourism comes in the summer months. So it's really important that we have strong June, July, and August. And Memorial Day is really just kind of the unofficial start to summer, but it gives us a clue as to how strong the rest of it might unfold. But it's important. Nearly $1 billion in direct spending by our visitors to Cape Cod every year. That's a whole year's worth of spending. But like I said, half of that will come in a 3-month time frame. So it's good to be open. It's good to be ready. It's good to have great prospects, and I think we do this year.
You know, as we said, this is kind of the unofficial kickoff of summer, Memorial Day weekend, and then it'll be very busy throughout the weekend here across the Cape and Islands. And then June gets maybe not slow, but it slows down a little bit from the hectic nature that we'll have here around the Cape. Yeah. And then you get into June, and then that period between July 4th and Labor Day. I mean, that's the hot time.
That's the cream. That's when the cream on the top of the milk bottle. No, actually, it really doesn't break open for Cape Cod until school gets out. Mm-hmm. So depending on, how all those snow days affected school schedules off Cape, that's when we get really, really busy. And that's because our core customer is a family on vacation.
Now, that gets impacted. Were you a little bit concerned as the snow continued to pile up throughout the winter? Because that delays when the high school kids, number one, can actually get down here with the parents, but also can get to work, right?
Get their summer jobs. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, we start counting, and at one point I think we were figuring that they'd be out by the 4th of July, and that's not good. And I think some of the school districts finally just said, that's it. It is what it is. Yeah. The kids will be in school all summer. So, yeah, and I think all of that harsh winter weather really creates some good demand for us, too. I think people are just ready for summer.
So what do the trends tell you then? The trends are that we've been, we had the difficult years around 08, 09 when we had the crash.
Of the trough. Yeah.
So where are we now? And we think back, and I think back to sitting with you in radio studios in years past about the crazy, crazy increased years. Remember one year after another for years, and we would say, geez, it can't get better than this, and it would get better and better. Put it in perspective for us, if you would, where we are now in 2015 compared to that crash in 08, 09, and then compare it back to when we had those really heady times here on the Cape.
Sure. So I can remember definitely 04, 05, 06, 07. It's like each year surpassed the last, and you're thinking, this is not sustainable. It's a little crazy. And of course it wasn't. And it did, take a huge dip, about a 30% cut after September of 2008. So 09 was not great. But I will tell you, last year in 2014, we actually exceeded the best of the best times before the crash. So our business is back, and it's back in a very strong way and very incrementally since that time. So 2015, I'll take a year as good as last year and be quite happy with it. But we just don't sit back and hope and pray and ask the quahog, as you know, is a big
I love that
is a big help, because we can we can do a lot of work, but the Quahog does predict our beach weather, and that seals the deal for Cape Cod. But, I brought Patti with me today because we, in fact, work all year round to get all kinds of business here to the Cape. So it's not just that family on vacation. We work to get people that are coming to special events or have a wedding or have a family reunion. There's certain things that we can do to fill bedrooms and restaurant seats and help the retail establishment all year long. But like I said, the 3 months of summer after school gets out, that's the cream. That's really where a lot of people make their money that they live on all year long.
Let's bring Patti into the conversation. Patti Lloyd is the Vice President of Sales with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. And Patti, in that capacity, I know because we've known each other for a long time, but you're on the road a lot. You're actually out off Cape telling different regions of the country, tour operators, etc., to come here. So when you take a look at what's happening here for the summer coming up here, 2015, what are your thoughts? So what are you seeing for trends?
I think we're going to have a banner year, actually, our June. Starting this weekend, Memorial Day soccer. We have about 403 teams coming on Cape. We know there is about 216 from Massachusetts, maybe 40 from the Cape, but certainly as far as away from Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, so it's heads and beds, it's families coming. So we know Memorial Day soccer is going to kick off our season pretty well. We're going to probably about 10,000 room nights are associated with that event. Early June, we have the Professional Firefighters Association that's going to account for about 1,000 room nights. The Ancient Order of Hibernians are coming into town. The big one that's really going to put some big numbers Cape-wide, I think, but for heads and beds, we're at Theater and Ice with Yarmouth Ice Club. We've accounted for 5,000 and about 40 room nights. 2,700 of them are in Hyannis alone. I kind of did the numbers the other day based on an average daily rate of $100, and that's low. So we're talking about $500,000 in room revenue alone.
It's pretty good. Pretty good book of business,
right? And sales tax. I mean, the rooms tax on that just for Hyannis alone is about $35,000. Then put all those peoples in restaurants and all our museums. They're renting motor coaches. They're here for longer stays, anywhere from 4 to 7 nights. So, and they're bringing their families. One team has 100 people with them. So that's June 17th through 22nd. And we do have some numerous big groups coming in the summer. But I think our summer overall, I don't do leisure, I do groups. So I know the groups are good. Our motor coach season is off to a very light start. I never get worried because the fall, we pick it up. Yeah, we're bringing in the president of American Bus Association is coming in on Wednesday to rev up our troops and rev up the engines for all our motor coach members that worry or want more motor coaches. So I think the numbers are looking really healthy, and forecasting with our meeting division, our meeting numbers have been up at all the hotels. And
take us on the road, if you would.
Take us on the road. Oh, man. That's my favorite place. But
take us on the road, if you will. Okay. What's happening out there when you're going out to these conventions to basically compete with other destination areas? What's the selling point? What's the line for Cape Cod now when you're out there on the road?
Well, first of all, Cape Cod is a brand, and it's an international, it's a wow brand. It has a wow factor. So we have to try a little harder. Obviously, getting to the Cape is a little bit more difficult than dropping off in Boston or Providence or even Hartford. I mean, we're going against New York. We're going against Michigan, Chicago. We have a great image out there, and it's finding the right client for us. Not every trade show is going to produce 500 leads. It's going to produce maybe 3 to 5 that we key in to and actively host them here and try to get them dialed into what the Cape has to offer.
So in terms of where we are, in terms of what you're doing and getting those groups here, obviously the summer kind of promotes itself a little bit here on the Cape.
But they have to work hard.
Right. I know they do.
Oh, man.
It's not a slam dunk because there is so much competition.
There is.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about that. That was on my list of questions here. So, and by the way, if you're just joining us today on the Sunday Journal, thanks for being with us. We're talking about summer kickoff tourism here, 2015, on Cape Cod with Wendy Northcross, the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and Patti Lloyd, the Vice Vice President of Sales with the Chamber. Hope you're enjoying your Memorial Day here on the Cape, and again, talking about business trends, etc. So I always like to ask this question because I know it evolves and changes year to year. Wendy, we'll have you both weigh in on this. But when the I guess the typical traveler, I always like to say, the family in Wellesley, and they're looking to see what are we going to do for summer this year, and they say maybe the Cape, and then they also say maybe X. Who are our big competitors right now?
When we do our market research every year, Maine ranks really high.
Maine does, really?
Maine is very competitive.
But the beach isn't cold up there.
I know.
And rocky.
We don't have shrinkage.
I can say that. Exactly. It's so cold in the water up there.
I know, but, there is sort of that wildness, untouched aspect to Maine, and Maine is beautiful, but we are very close by, and we have so many miles of coastline, and people are pretty familiar with the Cape Cod product. So sometimes it just comes down to what's happening on Cape Cod that makes the difference. And they might come to the Theater on Ice competition, which is actually very cool to watch, or they might come to see the new zip line at Heritage Museums and Gardens, or they might come to the new exhibit on Jack and Bobby at the JFK Museum, or they might come on the JetBlue flight from New York, which is relatively new and actually was flying at capacity last year, so we're very excited that will grow over time. Or they might try the Cape Flyer with their bicycle. So that's why it's important for us to try these new aspects and always look for new activities so we can lure the people that think they know Cape Cod back over the bridge.
So, Maine, what about places like Newport, Disney? Are those also still in the mix for people right now?
Yeah, and I think if it's the domestic customer, Newport, you can get into Long Island. Even the coast of New Jersey is very popular. For the international guest, it's New York, Florida, California, but Boston ranks really high. Massachusetts ranks about number 5 or 8, depending on the year, for international travel.
Patti, when you're out at these conventions and you're basically competing with a lot of these areas, what are some of the potential clients saying to you? Do they come and say, okay, I can do XYZ in Maine, XYZ in Newport, etc. What are you going to offer to us here? What do you guys have for us here in Cape Cod?
That's a good question, because those two competitors are fierce, and they both have lots of money to lure the meeting clients or the groups there. Maine has the state budget is unbelievable, and their ads and everything, but people are mystified by Maine. Also, there's 2 major airports there, Portland and Bangor. I mean, you can fly out of New Hampshire. Newport will always be a major competitor of mine, but they're a friendly competitor, so it's almost cyclical. Their client will go to Newport one year and us for another, so the rotation. We partner up with Newport at one major trade show because we found that our clients are the same, so now they see us together, and they definitely see the sell, and so they'll come to us one year and Newport the next. Maine, like Wendy said, people are mystified by Maine, mainly because it's larger than the Cape, right? And it is colder than the Cape, and that's my sell. Oh, you can't get in the water. And the Cape Cod is surrounded by 559 miles of coastline. We have family-friendly thing. We have something for everyone. The Pilgrims first landed here, the first meeting ever. You can get here by a bus out of Logan. You can also take a boat from Boston to P-Town, so it's another mode of transport. So we have numerous ways to get them here. So that's our sell.
And they have black flies up there, too. Right?
We don't have any. Oh, yeah. In Maine, they have black flies.
And bears.
And bears.
It sounds like the beating up on Maine.
I hope Maine's not picking up on it.
No, Maine's great. And, actually, we work very closely with the 6 New England states when we market overseas. And the international market this year, I was getting a little nervous because the U.S. dollar is getting very strong, which means it's not quite as cheap for them to come this way. But we're hearing from people like tour mappers and other receptive operators that their bookings for Cape Cod are almost at the same numbers that they had as of all of last year, which is really remarkable. They're a little bit worried about next summer with the pound sterling and the euro weakening against the dollar. But for this summer, I think, knock on wood, be okay for international.
So international, who's the big international traveler right now? What's the big market?
The UK.
Right?
UK hands down. And then Canada, but they're really not overseas. They are international. And then Germany.
Now, I remember speaking with you folks recently that are we looking to the Far East for more tourism coming in? China's a growing market, right?
There's a lot of Chinese. You got 1.3 billion Chinese.
And they're becoming upwardly mobile, right, exactly.
And they want to see America. They want to be like Americans, so they want to see. And there are now direct flights into Boston that are making it very easy. So it's a growing market, and we're trying to educate our members how to cater to the Chinese and the Japanese. And the Japanese want very different things. The Japanese will want 2 beds in every room. Even if it's a married couple, they sleep in separate beds, and you have to be able to cater to them very specifically. So, yeah, interesting nuances to lure some of these big numbers here.
Wendy Northcross and Patti Lloyd, my guests today on the Sunday Journal as we kick off the Memorial Day weekend and get you ready for the big summer season here. And as Wendy and Patti are saying, things are looking pretty good when it comes to tourism here on Cape Cod for the summer. We have a couple of moments left. Let's quickly talk about, we don't want to rush the summer, trust me. We don't want to. But I would like the listeners to know what you're thinking, because once we get, I'm sure your plans are already in place. Your marketing plans are moving right now for the summer. But when you look forward to the shoulder season, past Labor Day into October of this year, what can we expect to see from the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce? Patti, where will you be going? And Wendy, what campaigns are we going to be seeing?
It's a great question. Some of that is going to be predicated on the state budget, which is just being finalized now, and we may not know our final figures until later in July or August. Typically, we run domestic social media campaigns, radio, TV, billboard, as we can for fall, that focus on the arts, Fall for the Arts. And then we do our Christmas on Cape Cod campaign, which is becoming more and more popular every year, just kind of capitalizing on the great number of Christmas strolls and activities. But beyond that, Patti will be on the road. That's high travel time for Patti.
Where are you going, Patti?
Well, I don't know yet. It depends on the budget, but our wish list obviously is D.C., Chicago. We go to the motorcoach shows. We do a Canadian motorcoach show that's strong for us. We'll do American Bus. We'll try to do national tour. We'll identify some partnerships with some meeting shows that have worked with us in the past with our budget. So it's going to be across the country, Matt. Wherever the show is, that's where we're going.
Right.
And we'll do a road show, too. We'll probably do a Boston show and a Hartford show, a New England show, too.
Do either of you get some time to at least enjoy the Cape?
Always, all summer.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Quahog Day.
Quahog Day. I can't wait for Quahog Day.
Yeah.
June 22nd this year.
Yep.
Doug the Quahog.
Awesome.
The Quahog. You're going to be there?
I am.
You're Quahog security. We're dependent on you.
I'm going to break into Doug the Quahog song in a minute here.
Can you sing it?
Doug the Quahog, happy as a clam can be.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, that's about it for us here on this segment of the program. Wendy Northcross is the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Patti Lloyd is the Vice President of Sales. We're having a great time on Memorial Day weekend. Thanks to both of you for being here today on the Sunday Journal. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Matt.
I'm your host, Matt Patti.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.